In May 2011, a frantic phone call shattered the calm of Hao City in China's Guangxi province. On the other end of the line, a terrified woman gasped for air as she reported an unimaginable scene. She had walked into a condominium and discovered an entire family dead. Her words were fragmented, almost incoherent, but the urgency was unmistakable. Police rushed to the address, sirens wailing through the early morning streets, unaware that they were about to uncover one of the darkest crimes in the city's history. Behind those locked doors lay devastation. A respected government official, his ambitious wife, and their two teenage children, all savagely murdered in their own home. It was not a burglary gone wrong, nor the desperate act of a stranger. What police found was something darker, colder, and far more personal. The Zhao family were considered untouchable in Ho City. Zhao Xiang, 44 years old, was the director of the city's tax bureau, a powerful position in a system where influence meant everything. He was admired for his authority, known for his professionalism, and feared by some for his strictness. His wife, Ling Xiaoyun, was equally formidable. Driven and ambitious, she had carved her own fortune in property development and construction, running multiple businesses, including a building materials store. Together, they were a local power couple, wealth, influence, and social standing firmly in their grasp. Their children were the pride of their lives. 16-year-old Zhao Shua, their daughter, had just entered senior high school. She was bright, diligent, and loved by her classmates. 15-year-old Zhao Chuping, their son, was in junior high, curious and lively, with his whole future ahead of him. Neighbors often spoke of how polite the children were, how they carried themselves with the discipline of a well-raised family. To outsiders, the Zhaos represented success, the perfect combination of political power and business acumen, a family climbing steadily up the social ladder. But behind closed doors, cracks had begun to form. Financial entanglements, rumors of infidelity, simmering family tensions. On the morning of May 2nd, 2011, all four were found brutally murdered inside their fourth-floor condominium. When investigators stepped into the Zhao residence, what they saw froze them in place. In the master bedroom, Zhao Xiang and his wife lay lifeless. Their skulls had been shattered by repeated blows, blood soaking through the bedding and pooling on the floor. Down the hall in their separate bedrooms, the children were found the same way, heads crushed, bodies still under their blankets, as if death had caught them in mid-dream. Each victim had suffered multiple devastating blows to the head. The force of the injuries suggested rage, but the methodical nature of the killings told another story. At least 2 different weapons had been used. That detail alone revealed a terrifying truth. There was not one killer inside that home, but 2. Robbery? At first glance, maybe. But valuables were untouched. Jewelry glistened in drawers. Wads of cash sat undisturbed. Expensive electronics were still plugged in. The killers had not come for money. They had come for the Zhaos themselves. Even more chilling, the scene bore signs of calculated order. Floors had been mopped, surfaces wiped down. It was as though the killers had lingered, carefully erasing their presence. No chaos, no frenzy, just cold, deliberate efficiency. The sequence of death told investigators everything. The parents first, neutralizing the strongest potential resistance, then the children. It was not opportunistic, it was extermination. Whoever had done this knew the family, and they wanted them erased. The alarm had first been raised by the family's housekeeper. She lived upstairs on the 5th floor, alongside Zhao Xiang's elderly mother. On that day, the Zhaos were expected at a wedding. When they failed to arrive, the grandmother assumed they had overslept. By afternoon, worry overcame her. With the housekeeper, she went downstairs and unlocked the 4th-floor apartment. What they saw will never leave them. The housekeeper screamed. Zhao's mother collapsed instantly, clutching her chest as she saw her murdered son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. Paramedics rushed her to hospital. She survived, but at the cost of carrying that image for the rest of her life. The horror was not confined to one family. It rippled outwards, neighbors whispering in shock, the entire city stunned that such a prominent family could be wiped out overnight. The Zhaos lived in a 7-story building they owned. Shops occupied the ground floor, their home was on the 4th, and Zhao's mother lived on the 5th. The other floors were empty. Entry into the building required a key. Entry into the Zhao apartment required another. There were only 5 sets, one for Zhao Xiang, one for his wife, one for their daughter, one for his mother, and one spare kept at home. All were accounted for. None were missing. So how had the killers entered? The answer chilled detectives: a duplicate key. Someone close to the family had secretly made a copy. Investigators began close to home. Zhao Xiang had only one brother and his mother. Both were quickly cleared. His brother was busy with his daughter's wedding that weekend, and his mother's collapse had landed her in hospital. Attention shifted to his wife's side. Ling Xiaoyun had 5 siblings. Among them, her younger sister Ling Xiaowan drew suspicion. Years earlier, the sisters had been close. Xiaowan had even lent her savings to help her sister start her business, but time had corroded the bond. Xiaoyun prospered, building wealth and status. Xiaowan did not. Her husband worked under Xiaoyun, often receiving reduced or delayed wages. Resentment built with every argument about money, every reminder of inequality. Jealousy turned their relationship from warm sisterhood into bitter rivalry. Could envy drive a woman to orchestrate the murder of her own sister? The forensic team combed the building for evidence. On the vacant 6th floor, they found something: a faint footprint left by someone wearing only socks. Measurements showed it belonged to a man, roughly 1.6 to 1.67 meters tall. Near the shoe rack, another clue: a partial print from a woman's sandal, size 37. But no one in the Zhao family wore that size. Then the housekeeper reported something strange. Her own sandals, size 37, had disappeared just before the murders. It clicked. The killers had worn her shoes to disguise their tracks. It was a clever move, but not clever enough. This detail confirmed investigators' suspicion. 2 killers, 1 male, 1 female. Suspicion now fell heavily on Ling Xiaowan. She was the right height, she wore the right shoe size, and she had motive: deep financial resentment. Detectives dug deeper. They learned that months earlier, Zhao's mother had given a set of building keys to Xiaowan for safekeeping. She had never returned them. Instead, she had used them to make a duplicate. The plan was beginning to take shape. 10 days into the investigation, a breakthrough arrived. Phone records showed that on the night of the murders, Xiaowan made several calls, in the early hours of the morning and again at 8 a.m. All were to one man: Lu Xingming, the boyfriend of her niece, Suji. Lu's height matched the male footprint, and when police tried to reach him, they discovered something even more suspicious. He and Suji had fled the city the morning after the murders. Within days, they were tracked down, arrested, and interrogated. Under pressure, Suji broke. Her words confirmed the investigators' darkest suspicion. Her aunt, Ling Xiaowan, had orchestrated everything. Xiaowan had been planning the massacre for over a year. The motive was simple, yet devastating: money and envy. She believed her sister had cheated her, had humiliated her family, had prospered while she was left behind. She recruited 3 accomplices: her niece, Suji, only 16, her nephew, Su Kejiang, intellectually impaired but loyal, and Lu Xingming, Suji's boyfriend, promised 300,000 yuan in payment. On May 1st, after another heated argument about money with her sister, Xiaowan made her final decision. She retrieved the duplicate keys, gathered 3 hammers and a knife, and summoned her recruits. Around 1 in the morning, they slipped into the Zhao home. The family was asleep. Lu and Su Kejiang delivered the blows. One by one, Zhao Xiang, Xiaoyun, and their children were killed in their beds. The brutality was unimaginable. The children never had a chance to scream. Then, in a chilling twist, Xiaowan ordered her team upstairs. She wanted to kill Zhao's elderly mother too, believing it would divert inheritance money. But fate intervened. The grandmother's door was locked from the inside. Her life was spared by a simple bolt. Before leaving, Xiaowan mopped the floors and wiped down surfaces. She wore the housekeeper's sandals to disguise her prints. The weapons, the shoes, and the duplicate keys were dumped in a nearby river. She believed she had erased every trace, but killers always miss something: a footprint, a missing sandal, a late-night phone call. By August 2011, the evidence was overwhelming. Ling Xiaowan, the sister who had betrayed blood, was sentenced to death. Her accomplice, Lu Xingming, was sentenced to death. Her nephew, Su Kejiang, despite his impairments, was sentenced to death. As for Suji, only 16 at the time, her sentencing remains undisclosed to this day, sealed due to her age. The Zhao Family Massacre stunned Ho City, not just for its brutality, but for its betrayal. The killers were not faceless strangers. They were family. They entered with keys. They knew the routines. they struck with precision. Neighbors whispered for months, unable to comprehend how envy could destroy not only siblings, but children as well. For Zhao's mother, survival was a cruel fate, left to mourn her son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren, knowing her own daughter had orchestrated their deaths. This case remains one of the darkest reminders of how greed and jealousy can rot even the deepest bonds. Behind the locked doors of that condominium, love and trust were obliterated, not by strangers, but by those meant to protect them. What do you think? Do you believe this massacre was truly about money, or was envy the real killer? Could financial resentment alone drive someone to wipe out an entire family? Share your theory in the comments below. I'll be reading them all. And if this story shook you as much as it shook me, make sure you subscribe to Crimenest. Every week we uncover another haunting true crime story from across Asia. Cases that will leave you questioning what people are capable of when greed, rage, or jealousy take control. Until next time, stay safe.